Here's an updated video on Cinderella that has some new ideas and tips since the release of that original video almost a year ago now. I'm not going to cover the actual swiping technique for too long in this video because nothing about that has actually changed from the last video. Obviously you would want a maxed out Cinderella with skill 6 out of 6 and level 50 out of 50. But if you don't, that's alright. You can still practice the swiping technique. Let me cut this volume here while I'm trying to talk, but I'll come back to this in a minute. In my opinion, there are 3 major factors that determine your high score with Cinderella. And the first one is your actual player level here, which you can see mine is maxed out at 500. That's going to give you that score boost after every game. As well as Cinderella's score being maxed out here, she's 50 out of 50 score, which gives you 1,162 points for every little Cinderella Tsum that you clear. And of course, having her skill maxed out is going to give you a longer time to swipe, get time bubbles, and keep going, adding up your score. The third major factor is going to be your actual support Tsums that spawn in the game with Cinderella. So you can see I have some Tsums that are favorited here. And what you can do is start playing some games with Cinderella and take note of the support that spawns with her and go through your collection and start favoriting them so that you can then level them up on their own. The skill doesn't matter because you're not playing with them. You want to get the level maxed out so that you can get the highest score possible that spawns in the game with Cinderella. If you're short on coins but you still want to start practicing with Cinderella, I would recommend at least using the 5-4 bonus to get the actual technique down and practice. And right away, if you're a player that uses a stylus and you swear you can't play without one, well guess what, you can. Get rid of the stylus, you're gonna have to start using your finger. So you've watched the first video and you've seen the technique and you know that it uses 2 fingers to swipe the skill. Now that you've gotten rid of the stylus, you now have to practice with your non-dominant hand. So I'm right-handed. It took a long time to be able to use my left hand to swipe the screen. It takes practice. You're not going to be able to watch these videos and suddenly get 100 million score. Since I'm right-handed, the first thing I did was just start using my left hand in general, navigating the menus, tapping on the screen, swiping stuff. The most important thing you can do is find a burst Tsum that spawns as support for Cinderella. So you see I have Max, Happy Mike here. Pick one of these that aren't leveled up yet. You can start leveling these guys up and playing with your left hand. And make sure it's a burst Tsum. It'll be easier to play that way. Again, if you're low on coins, if you want to practice with your non-dominant hand, just take all the bonuses off and start the game. Now you're practicing with your non-dominant hand, you're not using a stylus, it's working pretty well, and this all adds up to final success with Cinderella. Now we can focus on the phone placement. I originally started playing her skill with the phone flat on a table like this. It still works and it slides around a lot, so if you're practicing like this, you're going to need one of these things, which is a thing that I had in my original Cinderella video. It's just like one of those cabinet non-slip liners. Place your phone on it and it won't be sliding around. I got my best scores actually playing in my truck at work, propped up on the truck's steering wheel. So it was no longer flat on the table like this, it was actually sitting angled like this, kind of like an easel on a canvas. In that case, you can try a phone stand like this one where you can rotate the angle of the phone and play like that. However, I've got this Samsung Galaxy S8 Plus that's very top heavy, so as I'm playing, it just wants to fall over. How I actually play now at home is like this, where I put my Macintosh keyboard down, flip it around. I put my little non-slip mat on it, put my phone on it, and then now it gives it the perfect little raised angle to start swiping vigorously. These are all little extra tips and tricks that weren't really included in that original video, but hopefully these ideas will spark something inside of some of you to keep practicing using these different techniques. Remember, you're not going to be able to get 360,547,055 score overnight. This is going to take a lot of time, practice, and patience. and trial and error. I'll cover the technique briefly. Since we're already here, you can always go back to that original video. The technique is using your 2 fingers to swipe Cinderella's skill. So let me get to it. Alright, so here, I'll do it slowly like in the beginning of the original video so you can get an idea. I alternate fingers. I go up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down, and you want to go up and down into the middle. The faster you do it, the more you want to move up and out because your bubbles are going to build up from the bottom middle. So as you build more bubbles up, you've got to bring your arches up higher, come back down, and the chains are going to appear to be a little shorter when they're really not. You've got to just expand your arches outwards to bring your bubbles on top of each other. You've just got to keep using the space you have to keep arching your bubbles down, just like this. A lot of people said that after I had shared a diagram that somebody made of it, it made more sense than actually watching the video. I'm trying to do it slowly so you can see what I mean, but your arches, you alternate fingers, your arches have to come up and into the middle and build up as your bubbles build up. Does that make sense? I hope. I mentioned earlier that I'd come back to the audio here. So by using the audio, turn the audio on, and I'll tell you why here in a second. I always play my games with the audio turned on because you can actually hear the audio cues of when you reach the end of your chain length. It speeds up the process than just relying visually on seeing your chains ending with the arches that you're creating. This is where having the audio on is going to help you remember what a full length chain sounds like, if that makes sense, as you're swiping the arches and building up the bubbles. Your chain length for a time bubble wants to be between 8 and 10 soon. So as you get a feel for it, you're able to hear what the correct length of the chain sounds like to make a time bubble, because time bubbles are what you want to keep your score going. Right now, because I'm filming and I'm at an awkward angle, it's not looking too good, but hopefully you get the idea of what I mean. You can hear your time bubble chains. So over time, you're going to get used to hearing when those chains end, and you'll be able to just keep swiping your arches correctly. Now see right there, all of those chain lengths were the right length for a bubble, a time bubble, but of course none of the time bubbles showed up. One last extra technique is to hold your phone as if you're about to send a long text message to somebody online, being upset that you can't get a 100 million score with Cinderella overnight. Play Cinderella just using your thumbs instead of your index fingers. This is how I originally decided to switch over to using my 2 index fingers. You can still swipe her skill the same way, creating the same arches with your thumbs. If the index fingers don't work for you, then try your thumbs just like this. For me personally, I prefer using my index fingers. And you want to come up and down into the middle, up and down, up and down, up and down, in arches like that, alternating. Sitting at an awkward angle, not even really trying right now using my thumbs, I'm keeping the timer above 40 seconds. That's pretty good. So that has been every little tip and trick of playing with Cinderella. It's going to take, again, a lot of time and practice and patience to find what works for you in order to achieve these high scores.